go, Village Green. Resources can be pretty much anything in the box. We're trying to get to a nice sort of up atmosphere, being on the village green, playing games, playing music, being together, sort of party mode. Scones, tea, beer, you know the sort of thing. So anything in the box, and we'll look at some things in particular. In terms of planning, I think you might want to think this could be a lovely activity to do outdoors. You might want to think about your particular participants, the people that you're used to working with. You know them best of all. Find out what their cultural background is, where they come from, what sort of things, what sort of traditions they have in this realm in terms of celebration and people being together outside. Explore that verbally maybe before running the session, and that will have an impact on the kinds of things that you do, of course.
When I think Village Green, I think getting dressed up. I'm thinking maybe there's some sort of royal event, royalty. So I think as part of our warm-up, we should use that to our advantage. Maybe we should think about kind of getting spruced up. So again, we might want to ask our participants to focus on how they look. Dust off any cobwebs, might be quite nice. I've changed my stance a little bit. We could bring our attention to our posture. So if we're meeting somebody very important, such as royalty or the Queen, I might ask them to think about placing their feet on the floor, planting their feet, thinking about being tall, and perhaps we could get a little royal wave going on. Again, we're thinking about articulation of these joints. Changing our direction, our focus, and perhaps we could think about a little curtsy or a bow in your case. So again, that body's going over nice and slowly and gently, just like this.
Done enough of that.
Yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So with music, I'd always be warming up the whole body, particularly the hands, starting with the hands, just rubbing them together, warming them up, maybe just squeezing the arms a little bit, loosening up the limbs and back around the other side, and opening up a little bit, and then loosening the shoulders slightly, and just loosening the whole body. Music is a whole body activity, even though quite often we're sort of locked into one spot. So maybe loosening the hands out, wrists slightly. And this is a lovely activity. Just putting the fingers together, nice, and then stretching them so the webs, you can feel that, and then just gently squeeze. You get a nice feeling of relaxation in the hands, and then repeat that. And because we're slightly royal themed today, we can just be putting on a hat, getting a little bit silly, of course, and that's good. And then off again, and then just shaking out. And of course you can extend these warm-ups as appropriate and as needed, depending on what it is you're going to be doing. And we're going to the Village Green. Okay, so gonna sort of play some games, gonna improvise a little bit, be responsive, again thinking about who we're working with and what their capacities are and what their interests are. And of course, as we mentioned, this could be all be happening outside, in which case there'd be a natural sort of soundtrack. But again, you can also think about, well, what is the sound world that goes with this? Obviously, there's folk music, there's music of all sorts of folkloric kinds that would work really nicely with this. Just a quick little thing. I'm going to use this as a quoit or as a hoop, one of the oldest games. And there's an egg down there, and I'm just going to try and get that to land. Oh, so close around the egg. Or just using this beanbag and try and get that in the hoop. Okay, lovely. And would you like to pick up one of those?
Yeah.
We'll both have a go.
Yeah.
And we could do a little cueing activity, so making up a song, for example. I've got a beanbag, I've got a beanbag, I'm going to land it in the hoop. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Go. Didn't know what I was going to sing there, apart from anything else. But that's, once you get into the flow of using your voice confidently, making things quite sing-songy, perhaps not quite that much, but it's really helps to shape the environment again. Of course, these bean bags are really powerful things. We could just swap them in our hands, perhaps creating a rhythm, bouncing to and fro, bouncing to and fro. I really like to swap and have a go of the yellow one, bouncing to and fro, bouncing to and fro. Here we go, resting on our shoulders. And I'm going to let this try and drop this off and catch it in my hands. So working opposite, I didn't know what I was going to do. It's that end of the spectrum which is improvising, sort of being responsive, although I was really doing what I wanted to do there. And the person opposite was sort of echoing that, but I might be paying more attention to what they're doing. So what should we do with these? See what happens here. Oh, nice. Okay.
So we've talked a lot about kind of echoing and mirroring, and you can do that in music, but you can also do that in movement as well. So your beanbags might be a nice opportunity to either lead or follow. And what I would say, a little tip, if you're thinking about mirroring in terms of movement, don't do it too fast, because it means that your participant isn't able to follow and be your mirror image. And I think a nice way, if you're thinking about games, just to finish, is you could use your box as a goal, and everybody has to try and get their beanbags or their equipment in there to finish up. See how many points people can get.
Okay. Again, that can be a cueing activity. You could have a certain sound that would make that happen. It could be a bell that you have access to, or it could be the tapping of a stick that makes that happen. Something that signifies that something is going to happen is again a really powerful technique. So let's do a little countdown, shall we? So going from 10, and on the Z of 0, you're going to build up some tension.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey!
Okay, so thinking about the village green and some of the music that happens are quite folky, and certainly with Morris dancing, there's a real jauntiness to it, the rhythm. One way to reach that, if you're not particularly confident making music, is to think of Rockabye Baby. So Rockabye Baby on the treetop. Okay, they're nice and slow. Usually it's a lullaby. Do 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 do. But if you take you take the rhythm of those words and speed it up slightly. Rockabye Baby. Nice. It lifts it up and it makes it. It's really interesting because in one sense it's used for rocking to sleep, but you speed it up and it lifts people up. There's something really deep and rooted about it. Plus that gives it a nice long structure as a rhythm, and you can just hold that down and people can move around with it.
And what a nice way to end our session.
High energy,
Yep.
or depending on how high you want to go. Yeah.
And I think you can really use this as an opportunity to support people to keep that energy high. So don't always feel like you have to bring everybody's energy back down to a nice cool down. If you know that person that you're working with maybe has something to do, and maybe they have a tendency in the afternoon to feel a little bit lethargic, well, do something that leaves that energy nice and high so that they're able to go on to the next phase of their day where they might need a little bit more energy. And yeah, play with it. We could have maypole dancing.
We didn't do maypoles. There's all sorts of things we didn't do associated with that theme, aren't there? And they're really good ways into thinking about the ideas that you do, including food, including the extended environment. Maybe you've got a tent. I don't know. There's all sorts of things you can do depending on how far you want to go.